All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
And good morning, and good afternoon, and good evening. However, wherever you are, welcome. It's the Big Glamorous Mark Thompson Show. I'm Big Glamorous Mark, and that's the lovely Kim, everybody. Yeah, how about it, Kim?
Kim, how are you?
Morning.
What? You look cute, and so do you, Tony. You look very
Thanks,
cute.
Tony.
Yeah. Tony is our beleaguered engineer. He engineers all of the technical stuff. He also creates the magical shorts you see. He releases the videos that you see. Albert is in Korea. We have yet to get any pictures from him, but we'll certainly have pictures and stories when he returns next week. But Albert and Tony split their time, and poor Tony is running all over town at KFI Radio, at iHeartMedia, building radio stations, building studios. So we feel very lucky to have you in the mix, Tony. So thank you for being here.
Thanks, Tony.
I don't know what angered you.
Well, Tony, what angered you?
But all right. What a show. This is an insanely packed show. You picked a great day to be here. David Katz, the former federal prosecutor, weighs in on any number of court cases, first of all. And there's some big ones. In fact, they involve women's reproductive rights and the pill related to same. We'll get to that. I love how judges are now taking on the role of approving drugs and pharmaceuticals in this country and evaluating the safety of pharmaceuticals. Yeah. I mean, if ever there was something clearly devoid of any logic, it's that judges have decided, I don't think the FDA appropriately evaluated the safety of that medication. So let me, with no pharmaceutical background or background in science, let me evaluate it and decide.
You know, when my doctor prescribes me medication, the first thing I ask is, are you sure it's okay with the judge?
Precisely. I love talking about reproduction, says Chris. There you go. Well, and good morning to all of you. Spencer. Give Tony the scepter of... Oh, yeah. Well, Tony didn't... I thought you received it already, didn't you?
Yeah, we did. I think that was Monday.
Yeah, you've got the rod of equity and mercy, I believe. Yeah, it's already been bestowed upon.
It's been done. We're good.
Yeah. If you missed it, it's in a past episode. Happy 60th birthday to Mike Garcia, says Vilma.
Oh,
Vilma
Mike
is a big supporter, and Mike Garcia is a listener viewer from Oklahoma, everybody.
Awesome.
Happy birthday.
I love his picture there.
Yeah, he's a cute guy. So I want to get right into it. There's a lot of stuff going on. I've got breaking news of sorts. We've got pretty big breaking news out of the FBI. I also want to just mention coming up today, Jefferson Graham, it's Tech Thursday. We'll talk to him. I've got a big That's Rich segment and a quiz that goes into the That's Rich segment. We'll do that in just a few minutes, okay? And it's a good one. It's a real good one. Also today, of course, on Thursdays, we look at the environment, and the latest word on the overall planet in terms of the warming of the planet is pretty dire. But there's also good news of a sort in Belinda's segment today. She does the segment, It's the Planet, Stupid, so Belinda will be along at around 11:35, 11:40, toward the end of the show. So all of that is still to come. Smash the like button like a boss. Get it out of the way. Cost you nothing. Helps us. And I'll mention again that we're crowdfunded, so appreciate all the tips in YouTube, of course, super stickers and super chats, and the Patreon and PayPal members. Wow. That really sustains us. It lets us make payroll. It lets us make plans. And I'll tell you honestly, I'm facing a situation where I have to build a video that's sort of a presentational video to try to solicit some help on various things, everything from sponsorships to other kinds of support. And to build that video, I got to, pay somebody to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And they got to go through a lot of shows, and they got to, we got to find stuff that costs money. So all those things come from your contributions and your help. And so we appreciate it. You can reach us at themarkthompsonshow.com. There's a click through to Patreon and PayPal. And that way you can become a monthly subscriber and a regular supporter of the show. So thank you so much.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I don't need to tell you that there were major secrets, and this dude who was caught with him, this Jack Teixeira, was hip deep in military secrets. The Justice Department indicating that this airman, Jack Teixeira, he was in the military, as I say, was hip deep in these secrets, and the military knew about it. And
What do you mean they knew about it?
He was warned on two occasions in September and October of 2022. He was warned by superiors in the Massachusetts Air National Guard that he had taken classified information, and he was warned against it. In fact, superiors were told that he had taken down classified information, that is, noted it, written it down, and then stuffed those notes into his pocket. This is all in a new court filing.
That's with top secret information?
Yeah, at least it was his top secret pocket that he stuffed the information
Well,
into.
you have to have that, yeah.
Yeah. There he is, taking a selfie. Airman Teixeira, as you know, who until March shared secrets with scores of online friends from around the world. He did it on Discord. That's a social media platform. It's popular with gamers. I told you I'm familiar with the two, because if you're at all even curious about crypto or NFTs, this kind of thing, you're on Discord. There's nothing wrong with Discord, but it's just another social media platform. But that's where all this stuff lived for a while before the government realized it was out there. But he was instructed to no longer take notes in any form on classified intelligence information. They also ordered him to cease and desist on any deep dives into classified intelligence information. So he was being warned repeatedly.
They should have taken away his access.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So they're saying in these court filings, again, now he has been arrested and he faces some real time. He could do 20 years. They are saying that he had a relentless quest for intelligence to share with online friends. He knew it was improper. So this is national security information that he had access to, and he was warned against accessing. He was previously notified to focus on his own career duties and not seek out intelligence products. That's from the filing, as I say. Not only was he allowed to remain in his job, but to Kim's point, he was allowed to retain top secret security clearance.
What?
He was given the second of two certificates after completing training intended to prevent unauthorized disclosure of classified information. So he took the training, but then he took the secrets and he put them out on Discord. 21 years old, man. Crazy. Really crazy. So the military knew, they warned him, and still he remained on the job. By the way, he's trying to get out on bail. $20,000 worth of bail money is provided, but it's this argument. The government saying he shouldn't be out on bail, and his lawyers are saying, let the guy go out on bail on $20,000. So his dad, this is, he's 21 years old. His dad, Teixeira's father, said, I'll take responsibility for him. Let him out on bail. And I'll let you know if there's any suspicious behavior around the house. Okay.
Does it make you think that maybe top secret information isn't so special then? If they didn't really, slam down on that immediately, and they're like, if you get chances, then maybe, it's not
one
so
more
important
time.
after all.
One more time with that those top secret plans, and you're out of here. Right.
Now I'll give you the last warning. I mean, really? No.
The government has previously argued that Teixeira would pose a danger to the community, citing a history of violent remarks and racial threats. I mean, again, even if you step back from the top secret thing and the clearance violation, he's a powder keg. He's a racist, and he's committed, it would seem, to violence, at least in online posts. He talked about making a Molotov cocktail. That got him suspended from high school a few years ago. He was fixated on weapons, mass shootings, and shadowy conspiracy theories. All of this while he had the respectability of online clearance and top secret clearance. It's shameful. Absolutely shameful. But
The Mark Thompson Show.
I'll tell you what else is shameful. Breaking news. The atmosphere at the Kelly Clarkson show apparently is out of control. Kelly,
It's
America's
rough.
sweetheart.
Mm.
Serious allegations coming to light that staffers on the Kelly Clarkson show are overworked, underpaid, and working on the show is traumatizing to their mental health.
Sure, I know how they feel.
Yeah. Exactly.
I have daily trauma.
It's me too. How do
Yeah.
you think I feel?
Right?
Well, I'll tell you something. This Kelly Clarkson, I remember her the first season, I believe. You can check it. I think she was the first winner of American Idol.
Google it.
And it was my first season too on American Idol as the announcer. And I was a big part of the show back then. I don't mean to tell you.
Do you know who I am?
Yes, I was a
I'm
little
kind of a
bit.
big deal.
So she was all anxious to meet me back then. Sweet Kelly Clarkson. She's, oh my God, you're the voice of the show. It's so exciting to meet you. I hear you every week. Now she's grown into this kind of Oprah-esque talk show host. And I guess the staff is saying she's brutal to them. Seems incredible that sweet person that I met could have morphed into this other person. 10 former staffers, 1 current employee, saying that they are traumatized, their mental health affected. Staffers say that working with Kelly herself is fantastic, but apparently the environment around Kelly is less than fantastic.
Do you think that's really set by the talent, or is that, something that management and, how many hours you're working, what you're assigned to do, those type of things, that maybe that's not coming from her?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. There are other cooks in the kitchen besides
Yeah.
Kelly Clarkson, but
It's fantastic.
I think the show is now looking at moving to the East Coast, and she's saying, I'm more committed than ever to ensuring that not only our team that is moving, but also our new team in New York is comprised of the best and kindest people in the business. There's always room to grow and ensure we are all becoming the best version of ourselves in any business, especially when it comes to leadership, to ensure that any notion of toxicity is eradicated. Eradicated is a ding word. Yeah, that's a long way of saying my bad.
My bad.
My
I'm
bad.
sorry.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But she did that in a different way than what Ellen's response was when she was accused of, creating an atmosphere of discord and uncomfort.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Well, you do think of Ellen in this case, right? Because the revelations around Ellen are similar. This is in a Rolling Stone report, by the way. Rolling Stone did a big expose. But the workplace and, how it's handled in these shows is important. I've heard, stuff about, the Steve Harvey environment, like you're not supposed to look him in the eye or whatever. I've never known if that's true.
Yeah.
Though. Yeah, I don't know if that's
Girl, you just woo.
Yeah, but I never know whether the affable, genial hosts have an environment that's warm or if it's actually, as you sort of suggest, Kim, that the other cooks in their kitchen make it a cold environment and an intense environment and demanding environment. And that's clearly the way it was at Ellen's show.
Yeah.
And the thing about Ellen's show, what? Oh, affable? Yeah, you're right. Affable's a ding word. The genial? No. All right, I'll ding genial.
I think I might need a minus ding for I said uncomfort and not discomfort.
Yeah, we don't do minus dings, but thank you for self-owning.
I do minus
think that
dings.
I'll ding you for self-ownership, which is good. But I think the thing about Ellen, last thing, and then I want to move on because I do have some breaking news also, and I've actually brought in a guest to give us the breaking news. Ellen and James Corden are both D-bags, says Al Anonymous. I'll ding D-bags.
You're in a very dingable giving mood.
Super, yeah, get it while you can. I'm super dingable. Remember Ellen's guest pregnancy unprompted reveal for ratings? No morals. I don't remember that.
No, I don't remember that either.
I don't know what that refers to, but
I remember someone said that she told people that they're not allowed to talk to her. No one's allowed to talk to Ellen on set. Unless you're the director.
I actually love that. It's,
is that the new Mark Thompson role?
I think
Kim, please don't talk to me until
It's a
showtime.
wild idea,
yeah, but it just might work. Yeah. But good luck. But you definitely think of Ellen. Yeah. The other thing about Ellen is that so much of her image was wrapped up in this sort of wholesome-ish, friendly, warm.
The nice girl.
Yes, exactly. The nice girl, the dancer, all that stuff. And so when they pulled back the curtain on that, it ran so much against that image. It was a very tough spot for her. Look, I always thought Ellen was really funny. I met her in San Francisco. I always thought the world of her. You know, I've said that before. I've seen her on subsequent occasions. She's always been friendly to me. But, I mean, clearly so much came out of that show that, there has to be something to it. It's a little like, the Trump dance when you hear that so many women mention the exact same, modus operandi, the way he works and sexually abuse. You've got to think, okay, dude, sorry. I mean, 17 women didn't line up with the same story. That's a modus operandi. I'll done. The other breaking news is out of the world of serial killing, believe it or not. So we'll get to that now.
The Mark Thompson Show.
And I've invited our, normally on Mark's Murder Mystery Monday, we bring Courtney in. And because this is news related to a renowned serial killer, the Zodiac killer, I brought Courtney in for a brief update with the latest news. Courtney, everyone.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
So, Courtney, what is happening? First of all, who was the Zodiac killer? Or who is the, what's the story with the Zodiac killer?
The Zodiac killer was a serial killer that operated between the years of 1968 and 1969 in the area of San Francisco. They know that the Zodiac killer killed 5 people. It's thought that he might have killed between 20 and 28, although he claimed to have killed 37 people. And through an investigative journalist who is running an organization called Case Breakers, which is about 40 independent sleuths, they're actually connecting the Zodiac killer officially to a 6th murder, which happened in Riverside 2 years before he started killing in San Francisco.
Wow.
And he's known as the Zodiac killer because he was sending letters to the police department in San Francisco and also news outlets, so the San Francisco Chronicle.
Right.
And part of his ciphers that he was using in these letters correlated to astrological signs.
Right,
So,
we're seeing it now on screen. Wow.
So now he was called the Zodiac killer.
Okay, so for years then, decades, they didn't know his identity.
They didn't know his identity. In 1975, I think, was the first sort of mentions of a guy who they're now saying is the Zodiac killer, which is Gary Francis Post. And Gary Francis Post was a Air Force veteran who I think worked as a house painter after that for about 40 years.
Oh.
And Case Breakers is saying that it was actually in the last year when a armchair sleuth who was investigating the murders was approached by a family member. And that family member said unequivocally, I believe this man to be the Zodiac killer, that I grew up in his shadow and he indiscriminately killed animals and did other things that led me to believe that he is the Zodiac killer. So this family member took it to this armchair sleuth, and the armchair sleuth took it to Case Breakers. Now, Case Breakers is the organization that put out the press release this week saying that Gary Francis Post is the Zodiac killer. They claim that the FBI not only has had him on the suspect list secretly, officially since 2016, but that they actually have DNA from Gary Francis Post that they haven't checked yet. But Case Breakers does have Gary Francis Post's DNA, and they would like to check it against some of the DNA that was found at the murder scene.
What is this Case Breakers?
I know.
Is Case Breakers a podcast or something, or a website, or what is it?
It's a website. It's an
and they
organization.
have the DNA of the killer?
Apparently.
They have it's a website called Case Breakers, and they have the DNA of the Zodiac killer.
Yeah, they have the DNA of the Zodiac killer, yeah. Well, they have the DNA of Gary Francis Post,
okay,
yeah. And so
they want to match it against
But
they're claiming the FBI knows that this is the guy.
They are. And they're calling them out, as well as San Francisco PD, as well as Riverside PD. And actually, what's really interesting is the ciphers were easier to decipher at the beginning than the end. So once they had the name of Gary Francis Post, Case Breakers was able to hire somebody to decipher the last ciphers and confirm it was him.
Wow.
That his name unlocked the ciphers.
Will you update more on this and take some Q&A maybe with the Monday when you come back around on Monday?
Yes.
Can you come back around on Monday?
Yes,
okay.
we have a lot of, unfortunately, we have a lot of breaking news because it's also the Idaho murders beginning of that trial.
Yeah,
So,
that's right. We had that story the other day that he's been in the formal indictment. Good stuff. Wow, that's wild.
Yeah.
Kim, I'm going to excuse the witness because we have so much to do today, but there he is.
Yeah.
The artist's drawing.
It's the one time, this
art
one and the other
sketch.
side by side, I don't necessarily think the sketch looks like him very much.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, they got some face
right.
stuff wrong, like the chin is wrong and the nose is wrong.
Well,
Lips.
Kim is critiquing the sketch, and we
Well,
want
usually
more
it's
on
like
that.
uncanny, like
No,
it's
you're
like,
right.
wow,
Yeah.
how'd they get it so perfect? And this is like, yeah.
I'll ding uncanny, not because it's dingable, but because
You
Kim
really
just
are
really
giving mood.
she's a little desperate for the dings, I think, a little bit.
Wow.
Courtney, thank you.
Yes, of course.
Appreciate it.
Thank you
Yeah.
for having me. Yeah.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Well, I can't believe it. Looking at the clock on the wall, we're already at a major kind of moment in the show because we're coming up on Kim's news. I still want to get to a couple of things, and I want to get to That's Rich, and I actually have a quiz with That's Rich. Before I get to that, I do want to mention San Francisco getting a dump of money. If you're just joining us, this is a radio show that existed in San Francisco. We brought it to YouTube. Now it's a hybrid. Now we have not just San Francisco Bay Area news, of course, but news around the U.S. and around the world. And we have experts from the Bay Area and also from the U.S. and from around the world. We just had yesterday our guest from Milan, Italy. And but I mentioned San Francisco in that context because I still really try. I love the Bay Area, and I'm troubled by so much of what's going on in the city. But more to the point, I'm just trying to explain why I look for San Francisco news and why maybe it shows up on my radar a little bit more than it might on others. And Walgreens has agreed to pay nearly $230 million to San Francisco to settle this opioid lawsuit. The settlement will be paid out over 15 years. This is a federal judge's ruling, as you know, last year that the Walgreens drugstore chain doled out hundreds of thousands of red flag prescription drug orders, they call it. And that means, they gave them the drugs without real documentation and prescription medications. Solid prescriptions behind them for the medications. London Breed, the mayor of San Francisco, saying the money is going to go toward programs including treatment beds, dual diagnosis beds, abstinence-based programming, and transitional housing. So there's all of that.
What?
While we are grateful for the funding secured in this lawsuit, she says, It won't replace the thousands of lives lost to the opioid epidemic that is playing out across our country. Lives are being devastated, particularly with the rise of fentanyl, and cities are being left to respond to what is a generational crisis. And you know what? Not a huge London Breed fan, but she's absolutely right about that. Walgreens did not comment, but that was a major ruling.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Major ruling now followed up by a major check. Now, do we have the open? Do you have it, Tony? Do you see it there, or Kim? The open and close for That's Rich? Is it in there?
Hold on, let me.
You know, when I do a franchise, I like the open and the close to run. That's just it's a thing.
Yeah, it's
and
her.
so that's why I check it. You've got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
You
I
ready?
had the picture ready. I'll do the picture, Tony.
Oh, wow. This is great. We live out loud on this show. We really do. I like that. All right. We like to follow news of big money. And in so doing, we put it under the umbrella of a segment we call That's Rich.
Who are they?
The top 1/10%.
What are they like?
These people are so posh and snobby, they're snotty.
That's Rich on the Mark Thompson Show.
Well, I have news, and it's going to be news you can participate in. If you are joining us right now on YouTube, and even if you were joining us... Even if you're joining us, after the fact, if you're watching in replay, you can still join us and play along. I'm curious to see where you'll be on this. It was a historic moment at an auction at Sotheby's. They had a Codex Sassoon Bible, an 1,100-year-old Hebrew Bible that they auctioned. No Googling. Tell me what the auction price was for this rare Hebrew Bible. And here are your choices. Tony, could you tell them their choices, please?
8 million. 38 million.
Wait a minute, Tony. I didn't hear you. Say it again.
8 million, 38 million, 75 million, or 110 million.
8 million, 38 million, 75 million, or 110 million. This Hebrew Bible, 1,100 years old.
Rarest of rare?
It's super rare. And this is historic. How much did it sell for at auction? 8 million, 38 million, 75 million, or 110 million. You can vote in YouTube now. You can also share your thoughts on it's not a Bible, it's called the Torah, says John Smith. My bad.
My bad. I'm sorry.
8 million says Elche. 75 million says Katie. 38 million says William. 110 million says Tom.
Yeah.
Mackay, the Bible. 75 says Julie. I could get it for you wholesale, says Chris.
I think I always usually pick the middle one because that's usually the right answer. But in this case, I'm going to go with the, 110 mil or 138 million, because I feel like these books are, there's maybe one or two in existence. They're super rare. I think, 110. Yeah. Okay.
Peggy agrees with you. It's the Old Testament, says LJ. Yeah, here you go. It's one of the middle answers, says Beth. Yeah, it's interesting. Does Clarence Thomas have to disclose it as a gift? Asks Ross. All right, we're going to close the voting on YouTube in just a moment. This, again, the rare 1,100-year-old Hebrew Bible. It's sold at auction at Sotheby's. For how much? Again, your choices if you're just joining us. 8 million, 38 million, 75 million, 110 million. actual retail price, $38 million. Wow.
Oh, it's the middle answer. See?
Tony, can you play the audio of them auctioning it? It's actually there. There is actually the audio. Here it is. You'll be able to hear it now. This is them at Sotheby's. You've got to hit that in the lower right. There you go, where they turn off the mute and
it says video has no sound when I click on it.
It does though.
Oh.
It does. Well, I'm not hearing anything, so.
Well, here's how it sounded. All right, 38 million, 38.1, last chance, fair warning. They use that word, fair warning. And then that's literally it. And that guy on the phone that you see there, that was a call in order. You know, many auctions now are handled virtually or by phone-ins. And phone-ins have been the case for a while, but this is a phone-in, I believe. So it went for $38.1 million, this 1,100-year-old Hebrew Bible. Now, before I leave you, and That's Rich segment, I have one other auction for you. That's right. All right. It's the big money auction. A rare Rolex watch just sold at auction and was bought back by Rolex. They bought it back. That's how rare the watch is. Rolex made this watch in the 50s. They bought it back. How much did they buy it back for? It is in YouTube now. You can vote. Did they buy it back for $800,000? Did they buy it back for $1.5 million? Did they buy it back for $2.5 million? Or did they buy it back for $3 million? A rare Rolex watch just sold at auction was bought back by Rolex. $800,000, $1.5 million, $2.5 million, or $3 million? $3 million, says Julie. You can vote now in YouTube. 2.5, says Debbie. 110 million. Somebody watching is a little behind. 3 million, says Julie. 2.5, says Katie. 2.5, says William. Wow, everybody's on the 2.5. What do you think, Kim?
I'm going to go 2.5. Yeah, 2.5.
2.5.
Yeah.
Wow. 3 million, says Delette. 3 million, says Tiff. I have a rare Folex watch that I got from a dude in Oakland. The correct answer, it seems, is in the chat. And what is it? What's the voting like online?
Everyone's guessing it right.
2.5 million. Bravo. A discontinued Rolex just sold at auction for a record-breaking $2.5 million. The winning buyer was Rolex. They bought back their own watch. Yeah. Hey, by the way, I meant to ask you, what was the voting online for the other for the Bible? What had won there? Do you recall?
Hold on a second.
Don't remember?
I'm bringing it up right now.
Okay.
38 million, 40%, 75 million, 30%, 110, 15%.
So 38 million was
everyone gets it right. It's 40%.
Thanks, Tony.
All right. Wow. There you go. Bravo. Well done. Smash the like button for yourselves. Well done.
Smashed it with your iron rod.
Give us the thumbs up. It helps us in the YouTube algorithms. If you have a certain number of thumbs up, apparently there's a threshold based on the number of views, so that helps us.
Smashed it with your iron rod.
Smash it like a boss. Mark Thompson.
I've told you it's never easy.
Jefferson Graham coming up.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister, and let's start with this fine fella today. This is, yes, New York Representative George Santos, and he is losing his communications director in a really ugly exit. Sorry to sound so excited about that.
You, sir, are a liar.
Nasa Woomer resigning yesterday, saying in an email, Santos never took 1 point of professional advice given and that she is honored to tender her resignation.
You are a cover-up artist and you are a liar.
Woomer was recently caught on a recording by the O'Keefe Media Group saying Santos is not a good person and she hopes he gets kicked out of Congress. This is his own communications director. This follows Santos being indicted on 13 counts, which include fraud and money laundering. So far, neither Santos nor Woomer have commented on her resignation.
Good day, sir!
But suffice to say, it was a high drama at the Santos office. This is a gym in New York, a school gymnasium. Parents in New York are claiming victory after forcing the city to remove migrants out of their school gym. The incident is turning into a flashpoint of the migrant surge in the U.S. Parents say they were never informed of New York City Mayor Eric Adams' plan to house the migrants there and immediately started protesting in front of the school. Adams backed off and moved the migrants elsewhere. Apparently, they did not want these migrants at the school. Welcome to America.
Right.
President Biden is shuffling his plans, claiming, as the debt ceiling battle drags on, he is, and here's a picture of President Biden.
It's supposed to be the G7.
Yeah, he is inviting the Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea to Washington after canceling a scheduled visit to the country. President Biden arrived in Japan today to meet with the Prime Minister, again, ahead of the G7 summit, as Mark mentioned. Members of Congress are now fighting to require all vehicles to come equipped with AM radio. Yeah. They want it in there. They want it in there. New Jersey Congressman Josh Gottheimer leading the effort, saying 47 million people listen to AM radio every week, and it's critical during emergencies. Automakers say EVs, electric motors, can interfere with the frequency of AM radio.
You get too much static because of the batteries, right?
Yeah,
or the electricity anyway.
But then why take it out of every vehicle then? Why not just electric vehicles?
Sure.
I don't know.
But more and more vehicles are going electric. It seems as though they have to find a way around this. I mean, that there has to be a technology that will make it easier to listen to AM or possible to listen to AM in an EV. But right now, the only way, for example, that you could listen to an AM radio in an EV would be to stream it on some other app. Kind of like the way you would listen to this show. You'd listen on YouTube, let's say, if you want to listen live, and you just Bluetooth it into your, probably that particular radio we're showing doesn't have Bluetooth.
No, that's an old AM radio.
That looks cool. That reminds me of my youth.
Right? But I think that a lot of people at AM radio stations that are working at these stations are feeling like if you take it out of all cars, that really is the death knell then for AM radio. Then what do you do?
Well, it's not even a question. Of course, I think you're right about people working there, but it's also, people who enjoy listening to AM radio. I mean, it's not just, I think it's, I only listen to AM and I get no interference from Teslas, says Chris. Well, yeah, you're not going to get it from Teslas just being around you, but you can't listen to an AM radio in Tesla. They don't have them.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
I'll be listening from my car tomorrow on the way to San Diego, says Huge in Japan. Yeah, if you can Bluetooth it into your radio, or you can just, listen on your phone and you just put your phone in the car. By now, the volume is loud enough. But it's a real critical moment, dramatic moment for AM radio. So I'm glad you're doing the story. I didn't know I know if you listen to AM, there are a lot of these commercials running saying, tell your politician, tell your representative that AM's important to you. But I didn't know how that's going, how that campaign is going.
Well, and it's interesting that there's no requirement that they have to have that in there. Even in an emergency situation, there's no law that says you must.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's interesting.
That's a Jefferson Graham question, actually, about the technology. I don't know if it would do it this week, but at some point I'd love to talk to him about it.
Ford Motor Company is recalling more than 422,000 SUVs because of a problem with the rear view camera. A recall affects Ford Explorers and Lincoln Aviators built between 2020 and 23. Also covered 2020 through 2022 model Lincoln Corsairs. apparently the backup camera, maybe not so accurate. I don't know.
Yeah.
Tennis star Rafael Nadal pulling out of the French Open for the first time since its 2005 debut.
What?
The 14-time champion announcing he is withdrawing due to injury. He
Gosh,
said
imagine winning the French Open 14 times.
Yeah.
I mean, that's so hard. It's on clay, and he's just amazing. To win any tournament once is an achievement. 14 times. Wow.
He also says that next year will be his last year playing professionally. So he's kind of done with the whole tennis situation.
Well,
there's never been anything like this.
I mean, there really hasn't been anything like him. He's amazing. And his athleticism and the way he covers the court, God, he's just beautiful to watch. That class, Nadal, Federer, Djokovic, just insane on the men's side.
I did not know you were a Rafael Nadal fan.
I mean, anybody who plays that well, you've got to have mad respect for them.
Not the best picture of him, but we do what we can. And lastly, we have a story about a Florida judge ruling in favor of Tiger Woods in a lawsuit filed by his ex-girlfriend, ordering the public dispute be resolved in private. Yeah, the ruling in favor of private arbitration came after Erica Herman made allegations of sexual assault. Wood's attorney said the two signed a non-disclosure agreement at the very beginning of their relationship, binding them to arbitration. When you get into a relationship, you have to sign a note that ties you to binding arbitration. Maybe this isn't the relationship for you. I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. If there's too much paperwork, you're saying maybe it's not a good relationship.
No, thank you. Herman claimed Woods pursued a sexual relationship with her while she was working at his Jupiter, Florida restaurant, where she worked until her resignation in 2020, and then forced her to sign an NDA or be fired. This is the woman that he couldn't get rid of. He couldn't shake her loose. So he planned a trip, or allegedly told her that he planned a trip, and then had her wait in the car or leave the house and then lock the door behind her. And that was it.
Sayonara, sucker.
Wow.
That's how he got her out of the house. Pack up all your stuff. We're going on a big trip. Click, lock. That's it. You're out.
Seriously, what the
Good job.
I mean, how else do you get her out of the house?
Got to get creative
man.
sometime. Sure.
I'm telling you. This report is sponsored by the fine people at Tenuta Vineyards. The reason Nancy Tenuta has 28 wines to choose from, 14 reds and 14 whites, is because she knows everyone's palate is different. For white wine, some people like sweet, dry, filtered, unfiltered, aged in stainless steel or aged in oak. For red, some people like low, medium, or high tannins. Also, wines that are fruit forward, and Nancy Tenuta offers all of those choices.
Where are you on the tannin scale, Kim? You like a lot of tannins, or
I'm about a medium tannin. I'm not a high
tannin girl. Are you?
Yeah.
Okay.
What about you?
I kind of like a full variety of tanninage. I like sometimes my tannins on the low side. Sometimes I like on the higher side. I'm an equal opportunity tannin consumer.
You're an equal opportunity tannin. Check out Tenuta on social media, Tenuta Vineyards on Facebook, at Tenuta Vineyards, Tenuta on
Tony,
Instagram.
you seem like a low tannin guy to me. I'd be honest with you. I mean,
Thanks, Tony.
I don't
As
know.
long as it's Italian.
Yeah.
We're good.
We're going to get you a low tannin wine from Tenuta. You can reach them at, what's the number, please, Kim?
The number is 925-699-4576. And you know what happens if you call up Rich at Tenuta Vineyards and you say,
Smashed it with your iron rod.
that's right, you get 10% off your order at Tenuta Winery in Livermore. Woohoo!
Yeah.
So check them out on social media. Check them out on the internet. Call them up, order your wine, and do your thing. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
They had to close down an entire radio station to silence him. And now, he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Thompson.
Hey, which one of you is Mark Thompson?
Who's Mark Thompson?
The Mark Thompson Show.
I am excited excited about Thursdays. Thursdays bring all my favorite boys to the yard. One of them is this guy who favors us with tech news on Thursdays. He's the great Jefferson Graham, everyone. Long-time tech writer for USA Today, left USA Today to do his own thing. Now he has photo walks, he has his Substack, and now he does a live thing at 2 o'clock every Thursday, so he's able to promote it here, which is great. We're happy to do it. It's kind of a fun conversation. I've actually learned a bunch of things from your Thursday conversations with other photographers.
Cool.
So welcome, Jeff. Yeah.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah.
I'm thinking next week I'm going to stand up like you instead of sitting down.
Yeah, there you go. I have to stand because of my back. I cannot sit.
I just think it's a better look.
Oh, I don't know. I think if I were seated, it would kind of look the same, but maybe not. Yeah. But you could try it. Yeah, I welcome people to the standing army. One of the problems I do, over at KFI Radio for iHeartRadio, when I'm in their studio, everything is seated. You don't have the option of standing. And the shows, by the time I'm in the hour 2 of those shows, my back is killing me. I've always had back problems since I was, even a teenager. And so it's really a problem for me to sit. So it's so great to when in my own studio I can stand, and I love it. And I just definitely, I think it also engages you. Sometimes I'll stand in their seated studio, then I have to hold materials. You can't hold the computer, blah blah blah. But yeah, I would welcome you to the standing. Okay,
I'm going to do it next week. I'm definitely
cool.
going to stand because I got a stand-up desk recently.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I've got a stand-up desk that moves. Does yours
yes,
do a little pop?
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah,
Interesting, non-tech stuff here, but the stand-up desk was $800 with the button that goes boop, boop.
Yeah.
Or it was $300 with a crank. And I went for the crank.
That's very funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like this about Jefferson Graham. A lot of tech editors will always have the latest technology and be pitching various things that are $1,100, $1,300. Dude, I get it. You like the latest stuff and you've got the money to throw at it because it's your world. But Jeff does this thing where he'll go, okay, here's the thing. You sign up for Disney Plus for a week, and then right before the end of the week, you jump out of it. I mean, you're always looking for frugal approaches to a lot of these technologies that will improve our lives. So we applaud you for that, sir. Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate the applause.
What do you have for us today?
You want to start with TikTok getting banned in Montana?
What is the story with that? That's because of its Chinese connection?
Yes, and unproven allegations that the Chinese are spying on all the good people of Missoula and Butte and Bozeman, et cetera, like that. I think they've just made the most popular app in Montana, right? This
the minute you ban it, you're saying, it becomes popular. Sure.
This ban starts on January 1st. You can imagine every young person in Montana downloading the app today and making sure it's on their phone, because once the ban goes in effect, there's no way to monitor whether you're actually using it. And if they come up with a way, then we'll just get a VPN and we'll go around you. So there.
Let me ask you about just that. So if they ban it, which they're doing, is there no way then in Montana to load TikTok and the app onto your phone? Is that what they're saying? Or they're saying if you do it after the ban, you can be prosecuted? It seems unenforceable.
They're saying that they can prosecute you if you download it. They're telling Apple and Google that they can't make the app available in Montana. And to my question is what happens when you're in Wyoming and you download it, or you're standing on the border? And how do you regulate the airwaves from saying one can work on your phone in Wyoming, but it can't work in Montana?
Exactly. But also, even within Montana, is there any way within the geographic boundaries of Montana to prevent it from being downloadable?
I don't know how the technology can work this way.
Exactly.
I do think the courts will throw it out. So, but clearly this stuff has been brewing for the last 2 years. Lots of people have been talking about banning it. I wish they would just sell the company already, and deal with this problem, because it's a problem that's not going away for TikTok.
Yeah. I mean, this is the thing. I thought, Lori says, I thought Montana was one of those states that believed in personal freedom. Yeah.
They believe in personal freedom until it doesn't agree with their ideology.
It's interesting, too, that we give up so much information through Facebook, Instagram. I mean, everything from geographic location to profiles that relate to those things that are sold. The data profiles on most of us are so complete that it's odd that they draw the line at TikTok purely because of its connection to the Chinese, right?
Yeah, but speaking of giving all of our stuff away, how about the new TV, Telly, a free television for all in exchange for ads that will be running on like a sound bar right underneath the picture? Would you be willing to accept $1,000, $500 TV, whatever, in exchange for free ads? And I think most people would say, hell yeah. Now, this TV will be monitoring everything. Every show you watch, they'll know where you live, what your zip code is, how much you make, what kind of car you drive. They'll know everything about you. Are you willing to accept a free TV for that? And I think most people would say, hell yeah. What do you think, Mark?
I think so. I think and I guess I was asking this in the last question too, or implying it, we're pretty loose with our personal information. I think most Americans, if you say, hey, I'll give you $1,000 TV, but I'm going to want all that information that you just described, they're going to say, sure, I don't care. I got nothing to hide. You want to know where I live? You want to know what I make?
Yeah, give me a free car and I'll put the ads on the side. I'm happy to drive it for you. Give me the free phone that I don't understand why Google never did. It had Google come out with a free ad-supported phone. They could have given Apple a real run for its money and become, if not the number 2, they could have been the number 1 phone company in the world.
So I want to follow up on this, Jefferson Graham, because this is interesting to me when it comes to the existing streaming services and how they're moving into ad-supported TV, the way they used to sort of be an alternative to ad-supported TV. So one of the great things and one of the virtues of so many of these streaming services, from Amazon to Netflix to, any of the Disney Plus, et cetera, literally could fill in almost all the streaming services that were alternatives to the networks, is that there were no ads. At least you would be able to buy into a tier where there were no ads. I mean, initially there were none, and then they started integrating them, and they said, well, if you don't want any ads, you have to. You can get YouTube. Right now, we're on YouTube. You can have YouTube with no ads for, I think, $9.99 or whatever it is now on a monthly. So the new profiles of these various streaming services include ads, and there sometimes there's no way around them.
Well, there is a way around them. Don't pay. That's you pay the extra money to have an ad-free experience. I know that.
Well, free TV. Yeah. What is that? I was just watching Jury Duty, which is a really funny show, and it's on.
Oh, on Phoebe. On Phoebe.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's an ad-supported. There is no other option.
There's no option, man. They're going to feed you those ads, like it or not.
Yeah, that's horrible. I've had Hulu with the ads and without, and I would never go back the other way. I guess the option is not watch VV at all, because that's how I would do it. I find the ads to be just too obnoxious.
Yeah, it's just especially when you're used to seeing it without the ads. Phoebe, Tubi, Peacock, blah blah. Streaming service is just the current way to launder money legally while getting data on consumers.
Pluto
and money. Pluto. Sheep. Anonymous says we're all sheep.
Yeah. The advantage used to be you could watch without the ads, and the advantage now is you can watch on demand whenever you want to see the show, and that is still a pretty big thing. Not having to wait to Sunday night at 9 to watch Succession, turning on at 6, or watching it on Monday or Tuesday or whatever.
I'm okay with that, says Calvin, the shadow producer, Calvin Wong. Yeah, some people are not as bothered by the ads as others. Some people, I was watching sports, and when the ad comes on, it gives me an opportunity to go to the kitchen and, whatever.
That's right. That's right.
And sometimes the ads are funny, or sometimes the ads are clever, but in general, you pay a premium to avoid them. So
yeah, and that the streaming services always put the ads in the wrong places. There's not a natural place for them, because these shows have been produced to run without ads. Right?
I see. Yeah.
But I'll take the TV. I'll put it up. I'll do it.
1 Well, in our last few moments, what else do you have? Anything that we requires our attention?
Amazon announced some new Alexa. Oh, I shouldn't have said that out loud. But Amazon announced some new Alexa speakers, including one that's the lowest price ever. It's called the Pop. It's colorful and it's a little smaller than the Dot. The list price is $40, but I think they'll be giving it away for $15 to $20 during the holidays. Now, they've been quiet on these speakers for a good 2 years, so it's kind of interesting and nice to see them still doing stuff. They kind of lost momentum to the whole Chat GPT AI thing. They have a new Echo Show as well, which is a tiny little speaker with a TV set in it.
Oh, I see. So the aesthetics of the speaker are changing a little bit too, maybe.
Yeah, they say that the new Echo Show will have better sound.
Oh,
that is the Pop, which looks a little weird. Looks a little weird.
I mean, Alexa doesn't exactly look better. That looks kind of cooler, maybe. Does it? Or I don't know.
Who even pays attention? It's just sort of there in the background and something
exactly.
you talk
Put
to.
it in the corner.
Yeah.
It's weird how it's a part of things. I was at a poker game last night, and they were trying to decide what music to put on, I think, and the guy just goes, and then he says the words, asking the device to find various music for him, and it's just so much a part of life today. We don't have it in the house, so it's always wild when I'm at somebody's house and they've got it,
My wife lives with it and tells it to play a certain radio station all day long, and but she doesn't have a physical radio, so there's no other way to do it.
Sure. It's just the reaction's interesting to all of these various things. I don't know, Jeff, some things associated with technology seem as though they're invasive and they make life a little. We live too transparently in relation to these various companies that provide the technologies. Other things don't bother me as much, and I think it depends on the rhythm of your life, and you can even see it in the chat. Some people say, "Hey, I don't mind this stuff," sort of like what you're saying, which is great. Give me the TV, and you can run your crawl all day. And
I also want that car. I want the new car, the free car. Give it to me, okay?
Are you going to leave us with a with a tune? All right. If you're new, Jefferson is a skilled guitarist, and he plays TV themes, and then our audience guesses the TV theme. So here we go.
Do we know this one?
You got it, Kim?
It's the Woody Woodpecker Show.
Yeah, thank you.
Wow, very nice, Kim. So well done. Lee had it also. Lori had it.
Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, how about that? Wow.
Okay.
Tom and Jerry Show.
No, Popeye the Sailor Man, I think. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, from here on, let's see. Okay. No? Come on, audience.
I can sing the words of the song, but I forget the name of the show.
Yeah, it's super familiar. What is it?
Thank you, John.
Muppet
Yep.
Show?
Muppet
Wow,
Show tonight.
strong.
Yeah.
Nice pickup, audience. Yeah. Come on, everybody. Yeah,
good.
love
You're
it.
so
The great
good.
Jefferson Graham. You can get his Substack at jeffersongraham.substack.com. And Photo Walks TV, the YouTube series. You're seeing a clip from it right now as he went whale watching. I mean, I think that Photo Walks TV and your conversations with other photographers, particularly, magical. I learned so much, from professional photographers. Do you use this edit thing? And it's all about stuff that I have access to on the iPhone. Like there you see it, shot on the iPhone. So we wish you well. We love having you in our family, and thank you for being part of things. And Jeff, if you're ready, before you leave.
Yes.
I'd like you to receive the rod.
Receive the rod of equity and mercy.
Yeah, I'd like you to receive the rod of equity of mercy.
Thank you.
May
I
the
appreciate
Spirit
that.
guide you in wisdom and grace.
May the Spirit guide you in wisdom and grace. Thank you very much. Jefferson Graham, everybody. Love it, love it, love it. The great one.
Don't make us beg. Subscribe, like, and share.
Yes.
The Mark Thompson Show. The Mark Thompson Show.
We have some cool stuff still ahead. I mean, if you stopped right now, you've got a great hour. And think about that. We had an update on the Zodiac killer. We had an update on that military dude, 21 years old. He has access to top secret information, and the military knew that he was involved in taking that top secret information, and they still kept him in the game, and he still had access. All of that. We gave you the X-ray on the Kelly Clarkson show, and we gave you the story of the 1,100-year-old Bible and its auction price. These are historic things.
Should we just quit while we're ahead then?
We could is the point. We're not going to, but we could.
Why are you yelling?
So what I am going to tell you is that there's another hour ahead. I know. It's incredible.
What?
Right. And in the next hour, the great David Katz. Do you have the picture of him as Katzadamus? Somebody, we'll get that rallied. David Katz, his legal acumen is remarkable, right? He's a former federal prosecutor. But the other thing about David Katz is that he's got this ability to predict accurately the outcome of so many of these often controversial judicial decisions. So, what? Your acumen is a ding word. You're right. So, all of that as well. Smash the like button like a boss, if you would. Give us a thumbs up. Thank you for
with your iron
supporting this show. It is crowd-funded. You're the crowd. We appreciate the funding through Patreon, through PayPal, and through tipping us here on YouTube. As you know, you can, even in replay, there's a heart with a $sign. If you want to leave us something that way, we so very much appreciate it. If there's time in the next hour, I'd actually like to read some comments from those who have watched the show in replay and leave comments. So if we don't get to that today, maybe tomorrow, but there's some cool comments as well, people watching in replay. So thanks for being here. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister, and let us begin this round with U.S. debt. And back at it again, talking about it. The House could vote on a debt ceiling bill as soon as next week. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy told reporters he sees a path toward a deal as negotiators from his staff and from the White House continue to hold meetings. This comes as Congress needs to raise the limit to avoid a potential default as soon as June 1st. This is an interesting one. Twitter's hosting of terror-related content doesn't make it liable for aiding terrorist attacks. This, according to a unanimous decision from the Supreme Court today. The ruling will have a major impact on claims made by critics that social media platforms should be held accountable for hosting such content. So if a terrorist posts something on Twitter, you can't hold Twitter accountable. A photography agency is now disputing the claims that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle had a near catastrophic car chase in New York City. Backgrid USA denies photographers were driving recklessly through Midtown Manhattan for 2 hours Tuesday night. The company says photographers reported feeling that the couple was not in immediate danger at any point, claiming the pair's security detail was actually the aggressor. California's legislature is debating a proposal that, if it became law, would provide unemployment benefits to people that are here undocumented. Senate Bill 277, sponsored by Los Angeles Democrat Maria Elena Durazo, the bill would offer some income assistance to individuals she calls unemployed excluded workers who are not eligible for regular state or federal unemployment insurance benefits due to their immigration status. The program would be administered by the Employment Development Department, which is still trying to dig out from losing $40 billion to illegitimate claims during the pandemic. So, yeah, we'll see if we have enough money to offer it to everyone.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, did you want to say something about that, or
no? I mean, it's a complex issue. I'd love to talk about it maybe next week. I really would. I mean, I think there's a lot going on. Yeah.
Well, it's a big show today, so I can see why you don't. Southern California beach hazard statement issued by the National Weather Service.
There's never been anything like this.
Exactly.
Big waves in SoCal today. It was the warning, the beach hazard statement, extended now to Orange County beaches until this evening because of high surf and minor flooding. Waves could hit 8 feet at Orange County beaches, according to the National Weather Service, which warned of dangerous swimming and surfing conditions. The National Weather Service first issuing a warning yesterday afternoon for high tides hitting large swaths of Southern California, including Catalina, Santa Barbara Islands, Ventura, LA County beaches. The warning concerns the risk of rip currents, ocean drowning, and enhanced beach erosion. So if you're in Southern California,
that's a bad combination.
It is. You got to be careful.
If you get it in order, you get extra points.
Yes. Could you give it to me in order again? What are the things that could happen?
Bad and worse. Rip currents, ocean drowning, enhanced beach erosion. Don't ever turn your back on the ocean. Don't walk out on the jetties.
I was trying to get you the extra points, Kim. If you don't want to play along, I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah,
I deliberately went back to get you the extra points.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
If you
Am
get
I
it in
collecting
order, you get
points?
extra points.
Yeah.
And now
we're all collecting points. We're all collecting
the
points.
rod of equity and mercy. Is that what's happening here?
All right. Well, I'm just saying, you really fight the system.
Yeah. ESPN. Cord cutters could one day have access to ESPN without a cable subscription. The Wall Street Journal reports Disney and ESPN are laying the groundwork to offer the channel as a standalone streaming service. Sources tell the outlet the project is being developed under the code name Flagship, and there's no set timeline for the shift to happen. I like how they have a code name for it. Code name Flagship. Yeah. The Mark Thompson Show is crowdfunded, which means we rely on you. You can find the links to Patreon and PayPal at themarkthompsonshow.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
My wife wants some vegetables for Crudite Day.
I was a basketball referee.
Feels great, baby.
Use Mark Thompson. It's unbelievably offensive.
What he's got going here is a situation.
I was fortunate. Everyone I worked with made me better at my job.
You are a cover-up artist, and you are a liar.
Wow, it is an exciting show. We've had a really, really good ride so far, and it's about to get even better with the entrance of David Katz. I did see something of controversy in the chat, and I wonder if I could address it just for 1 minute. Because here it is. PT says, being unkind to Kim as an employee is not something that I find to be funny.
Oh.
Because it happens in the real world so much.
Oh.
Would you joke about rape?
Well, Why are you yelling? You really went kind of far there.
You really went nuclear, PT.
He kind of took it to a level that we don't really go to. I will say, let me just address this matter if I could.
Yes, please.
While I have been denied the rod of equity and mercy, 'tis true. Working for Mark Thompson is delightful. He is kind and nice, and we joke around on the show, but he's really wonderful, and that's why I'm still here. That's why That's why I come here day after day after day, because I have a really good time. So just so you know, that's the way it is.
I'll also say, PT, from the KGO show, there's a rich history of giving each other a hard time. And, Courtney gives me a hard time, but Kim gives me a hard time.
Yeah.
Brett, I used to tease.
Stop picking on Brett.
Exactly. Yeah. I would get that all the time. And we used to laugh. Brett used to come back when we do these postmortems on the show, and we would just love the fact that people were so into the fact that I was giving him a hard time.
Stop picking on Brett.
So, it's sad that we even have to have this conversation when she says rape, though. I'm thinking, God, I better, maybe it's not
no.
It really is.
No, don't do anything differently. You're fine. Carry on.
It's just an ongoing running bit that we can't, that she can't receive the rod. But the rod of equity and mercy, let's face it, it should be dispensed without a lot of issue. And
agree.
Kim is clearly not quite eligible. All right. Point I'm trying to make is this guy is. I talked about him last hour so affectionately because we're so proud to have him as part of our family and among our regular visitors. He's a former federal prosecutor. He's correctly predicted the outcome of so many of these legal cases. He is now working as a defense attorney in California, and he is the great David Katz.
Great to be with you, Mark, Kim.
Hi.
It is such a delight to see you, sir. And I want you to first, before I get to some of these contemporary cases in there, some big ones for sure, I want you to weigh in on something that Kim and I went round and round on yesterday. I'm a staunch advocate, and now I'm joined by a lot of legislators as a result of a lot of the controversies involving the Supreme Court. But I was an advocate of this before these controversies came to light, of expanding the court. I mean, I just think that would be, we're seeing, leave it aside, all the reasons. I think they're manifest reasons. But Kim was saying, well, kind of like, this is the court you have. You kind of have to live with it, don't you? Although I'd suggest that this court you have because they held out a seat away from Obama. In any case, and somewhere in the middle. We went round and around on this yesterday.
You're talking about putting more seats in, and I'm saying that that could shoot you in the foot eventually. Because what if eventually you get an all-conservative court of 13 justices, or 17, whatever you
You've already
pick.
been shot in both feet by this, and they're not playing by the rules and holding a seat out. And then I'll let David talk. And the last thing I would say is, by that logic, you should never bring a court case because they may bring a court case against you the other way. I mean, it just it doesn't. I don't think it holds up. But David, you really are the. Tell us what's involved and what your thoughts are on this.
Well, I think, Kim, you were expressing a kind of conservative in the good sense, an institutionalist view of the court and of our institutions. But I do have to agree with Mark on this one, that it's been so debased, it's been so politicized, that you're basically just surrendering for decades unless you do something about increasing the number of justices on the Supreme Court. And they had a big commission, and it was a bunch of professors and former judges, and the commission never really decided anything. That was kind of Biden's way of punting on this issue. But, there's nothing in the Constitution about how many members there need to be on the Supreme Court. When the Republic started out, the nation started out, we had about 6. Then in a famous incident during the Civil War, Lincoln went to 10. I can get into more on that. But when people talk about FDR, quote, packing the court, meaning increasing the number of justices on the Supreme Court, they never go back to Lincoln, especially the Republicans never go back to Lincoln, whose Republican Congress expanded the number of members on the Supreme Court to 10, and it was not really very controversial. Now, some people say, well, it's sort of outcome determinative. Well, hopefully things in politics are outcome determinative, right? One side tries to get the outcome that it hopes will occur, and the other side, that's the whatever you call it, the dialectic. That's the difference of opinion. And there's a yin and a yang. There's a push and a pull. And I guess people are just kind of coming to the feeling that the Democrats just aren't pushing and pulling in the way that the Republicans are, who've had this issue in their grasp for decades. The Federalist Society, this is sort of what they live for. And so the idea of going to 13, I think, is probably a very good idea. One solution is to go to 11. 11, if it were passed, and it could be just done by legislation, would put Roberts back in the middle. For a long time, Justice Kennedy was in the middle. Then for a brief time, Roberts was in the middle. But by now, Roberts isn't even in the middle. I mean, there's 5 hard right votes on the Supreme Court. And it's not just Dobbs, overturning Roe v. Wade, but it's also the environmental cases. There's something called the major case doctrine, which seems to be made out of whole cloth by these justices from the Federalist Society, which basically says when Congress decides to do something like control pollutants across the country or emissions, or to do something about the ecological disaster that's happening with fossil fuels. Well, that's a major decision, and so therefore it has to be very clear that that's what Congress intended. Well, the way to be sure what Congress intended is, did they pass it or not? And if they passed it and it's not unconstitutional, it should be affirmed. It should be the law of the land. And that they go through and they have this major case doctrine. This is just a way to strike down the will of the people as expressed through the legislature and as signed by the president. And so I think it's totally wrong. And if I can just say one more comment about this. FDR's plan to pack the court had some real problems with it. It had some political problems. And while he was very popular at the time, there was a famous line, "A switch in time saved 9." One of the Supreme Court justices switched on what they called substantive due process. And so suddenly the Supreme Court went from throwing out all of the New Deal legislation to affirming it, to letting it go into effect. And that was everything. That was Social Security. That was the relief for the farmers who were going bankrupt in droves, the people on the breadlines in the Depression. All of those, amelioratory measures were suddenly affirmed because a switch, you get it, a switch from 5 to 4 against to 5 to 4 for the FDR programs, a switch in time saved 9. And so that was why his FDR's plan to put more justices on the Supreme Court ended up failing. But as I said, Lincoln did it. It's completely something that can be done by statute. And one more point on this. I think that the Democrats need to really sell it. This idea that it's the 20th agenda item, and at the end of the day, it looks like, oh, what are the Democrats up to now? This must just be a bunch of cronyism. No, it's not. They need to run on this issue. They need to make this issue come alive for swing voters. Some of the things on the Supreme Court, we've never had a Hispanic male on the Supreme Court. We've never had a person of Asian descent, with all of the fantastic lawyers who are Asian American, Indian American. We haven't had one on the U.S. Supreme Court. We haven't had a politician in a long time. Who knows? Maybe Manchin wants to be on the U.S. Supreme Court, or somebody else who's a swing vote who could help deliver the Senate 51 to 49 or 50-50 with the vice president voting for it. This will be a close vote. They're never going to get to 60. But my argument on the fact that they'll never get to 60 to extend the Supreme Court, they don't need to. There's nothing in the Constitution that requires a filibuster. They can carve out from the filibuster rule a vote that they could win this one by a simple majority in the Senate. And
the Senate can do anything they want on this, David. Right?
And they put these justices on the Supreme Court, Mark, by a bare majority. Kavanaugh, Gorsuch, Barrett, they all made it. I don't think any of them got over 52 votes. So the idea that they could put these 3 Trump justices on there by 52 to 48 votes, it would be an outrage if they couldn't expand the number of justices on the Supreme Court, right? The remedy for what they've done by a 52-48 vote. The idea that they need 60 is nonsense. And so I think that they should win the House on this. They should say in these swing districts, let's say we have a swing district out here that goes back and forth with 2 Asian Americans fighting. The Democrats should say, I'm going to put an Asian American on the Supreme Court by my vote. It's long overdue, and we need it. And let the Republican incumbent, who won by 51-49, let her say, no, I won't. And they should run on this thing. Like I said, they should put, I could think of people all over the country who'd be great Supreme Court justices. They don't have to come from the appellate courts. William O. Douglas, many other famous justices didn't come. I think this was Kagan at Harvard, right? I don't think she was on. She was an advisor to the president, but I don't think she was on an appellate court. You don't have to come from an appellate court. So I think they should run on the 13. They should carve out 4 or 5. Remember, that was Trump's brilliance, that he carved out this list of Federalist judges, and he said, I may be a no-goodnik, I may be a totally corrupt, morally bankrupt person, but hey, all of you devout, people who vote on this issue, these right-to-life people, vote for me, because here's the list. Here's the 12 people that I'll put on the Supreme Court who are so-called pro-life. And he followed through on that commitment. And so the rest of it went in one ear and out the other for apparently the Pence voters and the, quote, right-to-life people.
Yeah, the boorishness of Trump and everything, we've been saying this over and over and over again, it doesn't matter. Their relationship with, I'm talking about the Christian right, was transactional. So they knew, we'll put Trump in and he'll give us our judges. And they played, this is McConnell leaving that seat open, not even giving Obama the chance to, have his appointee or his nominee heard. You realize how the dirtiness of all of this. And I love the other thing that you've said, just to underscore, and then I want to move on to this other court case. But I love what you said. I said it yesterday. I would hammer the hell out of this Clarence Thomas thing and out the court's corruption. I'd make it clear that all conversational roads are going to go to this. I mean, I think it is a winnable, as you suggest, sort of election issue that the Democrats could rally around. I don't know why we don't hear more about it. Let me ask you now about the future of this abortion pill. Now there is a conservative appellate court, I'm told, and you can fill us in, that looks to be doing this same dance with the approval process, suggesting, well, this pill was approved before its safety was actually ensured. They're on that hook. They're hanging a likely decision that will restrict access to this abortion pill. Could you give us a sense of this?
Well, this is the Fifth Circuit. This is the most conservative appellate court in the country. So it's not like the Ninth Circuit went and did this. They cherry-picked this district in Amarillo, Texas, for this suit on the abortion medication pill. And they picked the Fifth Circuit as the one that would review the judge from Amarillo. So this was totally set up, judge shopped, and it's in the Fifth Circuit. To make matters even more political, it's 2 Trump judges and 1 Bush judge who are on this 3-judge panel. So I suspect that they will indeed deliver this, quote, pro-life decision against this abortion medication, which is very foolish. Over 200 big pharmaceutical companies have said this is foolish. The next thing that could fall, if this is actually good law, which I don't think it's going to become, would be COVID vaccines. This drug that they're talking about for the abortion medication drug is 3 times as safe as penicillin. So if this were to become a precedent nationwide, any judge in America could issue any federal judge could issue a nationwide injunction until they were overturned by an appellate court against a COVID medication, against penicillin, against just about anything that you can imagine. And that would not only harm the health of the American people, potentially coast to coast and in all sorts of places, like this one's going to affect it in blue states, but it would also affect the market for these pharmaceutical drugs. They raise billions of dollars. They do years of research. And the idea that they could suddenly be struck down and denied a market nationwide is frightening, as I say, not only for the health of the people of the country, but also these economic interests, these pharmaceutical companies that have a huge amount of clout. So that is why I think that while this decision will be made by these 2 Trump-appointed judges and by this Bush judge on the appellate court, I think it may go en banc. En banc is when the entire Fifth Circuit decides about it. That often has 11 or 13 judges on it, and they can reverse. Let's say the decision is 2-1 in favor of restricting this pill nationwide, that they can then reverse it, let's say 6-5 or 5-4 in the en banc decision. If that doesn't happen, then it goes to the U.S. Supreme Court. And I do not believe, I predicted this before, I don't believe Alito has more than his own vote and Thomas's vote to actually keep an injunction in place or to keep a prohibition in place about this drug being marketed, because the drug has been proved to be safe. The lawsuit is way too old. The FDA has expertise, which they applied to this question, and they made a rational decision. And finally, the fact that now they allow telemedicine doesn't really make any sense at all. This is a very safe and effective drug. If a woman is pregnant in the first few weeks, you could telemedicine prescribe this drug just like you could do it in person. This is all based on the myth that it has some dangers that it does not have. As I said, it's 3 times safer than penicillin.
It's the telemedicine that they're hanging. I'm trying to see the law part of it, the weak ass law that they're trying to bring in. is telemedicine related? Is that it?
23 years ago, it was allowed, okay? And then
Right.
generally, there was not telemedicine 23 years ago. People went in to see a doctor, okay? So then the FDA expanded the authorization a few years ago to say that you didn't need to see a doctor. It was okay if you did telemedicine. What the Fifth Circuit did before, because the judge in Amarillo said basically no, no, no to everything. They said no to the no. The Fifth Circuit said before that you can allow that if you see a doctor, that's fine. And of course, in some of these places, it's very hard to see a doctor because you may have to drive 200 miles to see a doctor. It's very restricted. They get these doctors, they intimidate them from not seeing young women who need an abortion, poor women who need an abortion. They intimidate these doctors in a lot of these red states. And so what you had the restriction on telemedicine. And so the Fifth Circuit said, well, we have questions about whether you have to see a doctor. So that much looked like it was going to stand. Then the U.S. Supreme Court didn't grant the injunction as to anything, Mark. And so now we're back where there's no injunction. Women can get this pill. It's safe and effective in every state in the nation, including in blue states. But if the Fifth Circuit rules, as it looks like they're going to, that panel, and if that somehow survives the tests all the way through the U.S. Supreme Court, then the horrible is that women in California and other blue states couldn't get it. This is not just something in some little area of some red state. This is women hearing my voice, seeing me here in California and other blue states would not be able to get this pill, even though it's safe and effective. The only good thing that would happen, besides the outrage over this, that would certainly mobilize people to do something about this issue and about the composition of the Supreme Court and having only 9 on the Supreme Court. It would not only mobilize people, but there is a second part to the treatment. And so if worse came to worse, women could apparently take the second part. It's not quite as effective. It's also very safe. It's not quite as effective, and it has a few more side effects, which, to get the result that you want, it's a side effect worth enduring. But my goodness, people who say they want to help women are going to come up with a regime that's going to make them take not the first pill, but only the second pill, which is still effective, but which makes them, let's say, bleed a little bit more.
Yeah,
wow,
bleeding,
that's helping
painful,
women.
That's
helping women.
Yeah, I mean, this seems like judicial terrorism is what we're looking at, and it's just astounding to hear you catalog it like this. And now I ask for just to reiterate your prediction. Then you're saying if this does go through, as it's suggested there, because this court is loaded the way you've described with Bush and Trump appointed judges, then there be a temporary injunction, or there would be a stoppage to this, and then it would go to the Supreme Court, you're saying. But during that time, the pill would not be available even in places like California. And then you're saying, and just to follow through on the prediction part, the Supreme Court would likely overturn that judgment and it would be available again, is what you think would likely happen?
I think it will never stop being available, because I think if the Fifth Circuit issued its ruling, as I think they're going to, then I believe there would be a stay either imposed by that court, would itself recognize that this is so controversial. It's been up to the Supreme Court, and that did not result in an injunction being left in effect, that I think they'd realize that they were really flying in the face of the Supreme Court. Otherwise, I think the en banc Fifth Circuit, the entire court, would not let the prohibition go into effect. And then I think because it's been to the U.S. Supreme Court and they did not allow the prohibition to go into effect while it was being litigated, the U.S. Supreme Court would still not let it go into effect. I believe at the end of all of this, the U.S. Supreme Court, someone said on your show, will they go with their theological side, or will they go with their friend of the rich and huge company side? And on this one, I think that they will go with the big pharma and not big theocracy. They'll go with big pharma and not big theocracy, and that this pill will remain available because big pharma is all in on this issue. And this really would disrupt the pharmaceutical industry. There's things we don't like about them, but I think on this one, maybe it's strange bedfellows, but we're with the makers of this abortion medication drug because it's very safe and effective. And we need these drugs. They may gouge on the price. They may not allow fair competition, but we need a lot of these drugs. For goodness sake, we needed that COVID drug Can you imagine if they have stopped that in some of these red states and then tried to apply a nationwide injunction so we couldn't get the COVID pills anywhere? What an outrage.
Well, I mean, I think that they're looking increasingly like they may do stuff like that. That's why I was saying that it's a judicial terrorism of sorts. It's absolutely and immensely disturbing, you know. I do want to, dialectic is a ding word, thank you, as is determinative, very strong. I want to actually, very, very good. That's a ding word. Nice job, David Katz.
We attorneys use those too. If this were a pure law show, I don't know if I'd get a ding, but it's great to speak to your audience about these legal issues, and I hope I can make some of this stuff, more comprehensible than when you just read about it in a law journal.
Yeah, I love talking to you for just that reason. I think you deconstruct these things so effectively. And we love your predictions. Tony, you have the mock-up again of David Katz as Nostradamus? No, you don't? Okay. Well, we had it, and we'll have it for your next time. Katzadamus, again, the latest prediction is that what do you call it again? The bunk, what is it? The court? Where you say that they're going to, as a Fifth Circuit, when they all meet together?
En banc. E-N, new word, B-A-N-C, from French, the court saying. Let me just say one more thing about the Supreme Court. Some people say, well, wouldn't more than 9 be unwieldy? When these circuit courts sit en banc, they sit with 11 justices or 11 judges or 13 judges. There's nothing unwieldy about it. They all fit in the courtroom. They can all ask questions in turn. Lincoln's 10-member Supreme Court did just fine. And as I said, with the fact that it's outcome determinative, yes, of course, people shouldn't shy from the fact that this is the only opportunity to try to undo Dobbs. This Second Amendment jurisprudence has gone completely crazy. The idea that people can run around and open carry, that's not at all, even if you give the Second Amendment all its due, it was not. People have gone back and studied this. At the time of the Revolution and thereafter, people did not run around open carrying weapons in big cities of the time. Yes, maybe in rural areas, maybe for hunting, but they didn't run around New York or Philadelphia or Charleston with open carry. This is back in the late 1700s. And then you have the Shelby County case, when you see the African Americans made to wait for 5 hours in line in southern places. You can thank the Supreme Court because there was a Voting Rights Act that even the Republicans voted for. And they said, no, we don't need that anymore because all the southern states are playing by the rules with African Americans. Really? And then we see election after election where they can't get water while they're waiting in line for 5 hours, where they play games and they restrict all these people from the voting rolls. That's Shelby. So they have had a lot of 5-4 decisions, this Supreme Court, and now we're locked for decades into 5-4 or 6-3 decisions. And I think you said this the other day, Mark. They're fighting for this. People who believe in the rule of law and believe in fairness and in precedent have to fight for their side. And the only remedy, you think Clarence Thomas is going to resign? They're going to have to carry him out. And if 1/9 of the court is corrupt, with 13, only 1/13 of the court will be corrupt, and the 4 new members would be terrific. And they can sell this plan, not just as a plan which is totally legal and appropriate, but also on the character and how great those 4 new justices would be, and name some of them like Trump did.
I love it. I love it. The great David Katz. Oh, there he is.
I'm better looking than that, I hope. I hope.
Better looking. Yeah, that's just a caricature, but it was well done. It was I think Robert is his name. He did it like within an hour after we were just talking about you. Katzadamus.
One of your viewers wrote in and said that Nostradamus was also wrong. I mean, it's just he was a famous predictor. It's just that he was a famous predictor. I don't want to compare my batting average to his. I don't even know what his batting average was, but he was a famous predictor.
Well, receive the rod of equity and mercy. And take your applause. Thank you, David Katz. Love that you join us, and we'll talk next week. Bye-bye.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Let's do some quickie news from Kim, and then it's all about the planet. And news about the planet with Belinda. Kim, are you down with that? Yeah? She's muted, but I think she's on board. So smash it with your iron rod. And Mark Thompson Show. Yeah, there you go. It's
Hey, which one do you use, Mark Thompson?
Who's Mark Thompson?
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. Ooh, yeah, this is a new thing. If Congress can't do its job, its members should not get paid. It's the message behind a bipartisan bill introduced today. The bill would block members of Congress from getting paid for every day the debt ceiling is not lifted following a default, or for each day following the start of a federal government shutdown. What do you think about that? If you don't do your job, you don't get the money, honey. That's
There
the
will
way
be
it
a
is.
slapback.
Yeah. The accused Pentagon leaker believed to have posted classified documents to an international chat. Federal prosecutors say 21-year-old Jack Teixeira shared documents on chat website Discord. The Air National Guardsman was arrested in April for leaking top secret documents, including some that contained information on the war in Ukraine. The CDC is saying that deaths in the United States from drug overdoses have now leveled off and are no longer surging. Yeah, findings come after a record was set last year with more than 100,000 overdose deaths in the U.S. The CDC said fentanyl accounted for more than 2/3 of all 2022 deaths involving a synthetic opioid. Here in the Bay Area, BART is agreeing to pay $4 million to settle a police shooting case. A 20-year-old man sued for excessive force after two officers fired on him during a chase through an El Cerrito station 3 years ago. Body camera video shows a then 17-year-old running out of a train, jumping onto the tracks, and turning back to grab the gun that fell out of his pants. While he admits he was armed, he says he never threatened any of the officers. Now Bart is agreeing to pay him $4 million.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Holmes can continue to live in San Diego until May 30th. The U.S. District Judge posted a revised prison reporting date to her lawyers yesterday. Holmes' attorney says no prison destination has been disclosed, but the Theranos founder is preparing to leave California. The punishment also includes a $452 million restitution. Holmes has a 1-year-old son and a 3-month-old daughter. Again, she has to report for prison on May 30th.
I'll just say one thing about Elizabeth Holmes quickly, because I've got Belinda waiting, and I know you've got other news to do, but I just am always astounded, even as this case has gone on, at what she did. She dropped out of Stanford, and at 19 was able to amass a fortune in VC investment, get the former Secretary of State on her board, and create such a massive illusion and fraud that major pharmaceutical companies and major retail outlets associated with pharmaceuticals signed on to be part of her company. It was a remarkable thing that Theranos was. I'm talking about it as a fraud, okay? But that this kid did this is amazing. And if you watch the documentaries and even the dramatic recreations or the stories of Theranos, they're excellent. And it's like, wow, it's amazing the parade of people who believed in her and into a technology that was completely fraudulent.
Well, off to jail she goes.
Now it's
Bye-bye.
sayonara, sucker.
Sayonara, sucker.
Sayonara, sucker.
More cryptocurrency firms may leave the United States because of confusing regulations. That is the opinion of Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse. In an interview with CNBC, Garlinghouse said welcoming jurisdictions like Europe, the UK, and Singapore provide more clarity about how digital assets are to be regulated.
I've told you, it's never easy being in this business.
Yeah, in the crypto business, it's not easy. It's true.
They want their money in San Francisco, and yes, they will get it. They will get it from you. But restaurants are fighting a plan to make San Francisco customers pay more to park. City leaders want to extend hours on the 28,000 parking meters in the city starting in July. So instead of 6 p.m., the enforcement would end at 10 p.m. What? Yes, Sunday would also
high and drunk.
Yeah.
Sunday would also be added from noon to 6. Wait a minute, don't you get to park for free in the city on Sunday? Not anymore, you don't. Restaurant owners say it's not the right time. Many people still struggling after the pandemic, but the Board of Supervisors will vote on the resolution next week to extend parking meter time to 10 p.m. from 6 p.m. and to add Sunday enforcement from noon to 6.
Wow.
You know, they do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do.
Yeah,
it
if you're
for.
a business owner in San Francisco, it's not hard enough. Now people are going to have to pay. This is if you can find a parking spot, by the way. I mean, it ain't easy.
Well, and then at least you could say, all right, well, you call the dinner hour 6, 7, 8 o'clock. It's a little later in the city, maybe. But at least you could, if you did find a spot, you were able to park there, without having to pay the meter or feed the meter during
I'm
dinner.
going to say this. I don't mean to speak, but I do it. A lot of big cities, it's till 10 o'clock. So, I mean, I get it. The thing that sucks is, A, you can't find a spot. B, if you do find a spot, it's not like close to the restaurant or whatever else you're doing.
Yeah.
So you have to run out in the middle of the meal and feed the meter again. I don't know. It's definitely a pain, and it doesn't help business owners. So I feel for them in the city for sure.
I wonder if the reason they're doing this is maybe because fewer people are driving into the city every day for work now, and so they're losing revenue on parking meters. So
100%, it's a revenue
yeah,
thing. Yes,
yeah,
you're absolutely right. No, 100%.
This is Dr. Roxy, a Central Ohio surgeon who live streamed her surgeries on TikTok.
It's a wild idea, but it just might work.
Actually, it didn't work from what I could see.
It wasn't such a good idea for Dr. Roxy. She could learn the fate of her medical license very soon. The doctor, known as Dr. Roxy to her 800,000 followers, is accused of botched surgeries and privacy violations because she's posted all this to TikTok. Sellers said the social media broadcast, Dr. Sellers is her real name, were meant to be an educational thing and to get her patients comfortable prior to coming to her office. The medical board says the surgeon was putting patients at risk by giving attention to her live stream viewers during operations. You don't really want your surgeon talking to live stream viewers. You kind of want the focus to be on what's happening with you.
Well, apparently, because her focus was on the live stream, she was screwing up operations pretty badly, right?
That's right. So Dr. Catherine Roxanne Graw, known as Dr. Roxy, she might lose her medical license.
Wow.
How would you handle this?
Well,
we could try ignoring it, sir.
I mean, I think she came close to killing people, so you can't really ignore too much of it, I think.
Sayonara, sucker.
Just sayonara, sucker. Yeah.
Dr. Roxy, out you go.
Sayonara, sucker.
It's Kim's favorite drop is sayonara.
The Mark Thompson Show is crowdfunded. The website is themarkthompsonshow.com. That's where you'll find the Patreon and the PayPal links. And I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
Woohoo!
The Mark Thompson Show.
It is with great pleasure that I welcome you into the show. If you've just beamed in from wherever, you're catching a live feed of our show that is on from 10 until noon Pacific time every day. We are crowd-funded, so if you're part of that crowd, thank you for supporting us. We try to scroll your names at the end of the show. If you're tipping us on YouTube during the show, that's another way that we gain some revenue into the show, and thank you for keeping us on the air. If you're one of those people, to whatever level you can contribute, it means so very much. I'd also say that if you have anything to say, you can enter the chat. You can do it after the show. You can do it during the show. These are all ways you can participate in the community that is this show, and that's one of the exciting things about being on this platform, YouTube, is that we're able to interact with you and that there is a community that is formed. So thank you so much. Now, once a week, on Thursdays, we like to look at issues involving planet Earth, fragile as it is and endangered as it is. We do it every week in a segment we call It's the Planet, Stupid.
The planet Earth.
Some call me nature.
I am very passionate about the planet.
Earth. A living, breathing planet capable of sustaining whatever life forms we see fit to deposit on it.
Spock, judging by the pollution content of the atmosphere, I believe we have arrived.
It's the planet, stupid. No. It's the planet, stupid.
Our guide through It's the Planet, Stupid, Belinda Waymouth. Hi, Belinda.
Hi there. Good morning. How are you?
I'm well, and we are well. And I will tell you that last time you were on, and this is just a tease for the next time you're on, hoping that you'll, I always feel like we're week to week. I'm always hoping she'll show up next week, too. People were asking about your career prior to being an eco-journalist. as an actor, big-time actress, doing some pretty big work. And we had literally several people at the moment you were talking about other stuff, very serious planetary stuff, going, get her to talk about her career as an actress.
I might do that.
Maybe for the next time. But this time we'll get into, I think, what I thought was something of a dire report on from the world's meteorologists and climatologists. I wonder if you could speak to that.
Oh, you mean about where we're headed now that this El Nino is going to take over from the La Nina, and how hot it's going to be, and the fact that in Vietnam last week they had 111.2 degree day, which broke their heat records. 25,000 people have been evacuated in Alberta because of fire threats. That stuff, is that what you're talking about, Mark? The debt ceiling, the Republicans don't want to spend any money on really important environmental regulations, that stuff.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, you're right. I mean, among the things that they want to pull back on and make cuts on, those things that are related to trying to address this climate crisis. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. We can't do that. It's nonsense. And it's really ridiculous because this sort of focus on, we've got to use this dinosaur fuel makes any Western country look like a dinosaur. And that's what it's doing to the US right now. All these other countries. I mean, even Australia, which like, the US has so much coal. I mean, they are going leaps and bounds with renewables, with wind, and particularly with solar. And I really want to talk about this. I know I'm talking a lot about renewable energy right now, but, we have to cut our emissions in half by 2030. That's 7 years away. So this is really serious. And this year alone, the weather stuff that we have seen, and, Alberta, people are being evacuated up there because there's another heat dome sitting over British Columbia and Alberta. Now, when that happened in 2021, it was in the summer, so it was already hotter. But the estimates are that 500 people died because of that heat event. So that was in Alberta, British Columbia, Oregon, and Washington. This stuff is real, and we have to push our politicians to really embrace renewables. And the fact is, Mark, I can say this over and over again, this is happening while they drag their feet. And, solar in the world, solar capacity is growing at 21% a year. If it keeps up at this rate, by 2031, it will be bigger than hydro, coal, gas, all those, energy sources, and nuclear combined. And the really exciting thing is that, what we have now is this, incredible awareness of where we've gotten with using, dirty fuels, and where we've gotten with just landfilling all the waste from stuff. And the thing about renewable energy, solar, panels and wind turbines is right now, 90% of them are being thrown in landfills. But, if you don't go to the expense and trouble of recycling, that's a dubious luxury that industry and the earthlings who run polluting businesses, we just don't have it anymore. And so what's super exciting is that there are all these other earthlings who really get the dire position that we're in, and that recycling materials from solar panels and recycling wind turbines, which have, right now the blades are 170 feet long. Some of them now are 320 feet long. That's a lot of steel, metals. They are, recyclable. And they say that with solar panels, they are 95% recyclable. So there are all these businesses that are taking solar panels, thanks for the photo, Kim, and they are recycling them. And this is, super exciting because the recycled material from solar panels could meet solar manufacturing needs up to 30 to 50% by 2040, which is pretty soon. And what these, young, well, I shouldn't say young, but, startup, innovators who are looking at this, these materials from, solar and turbine, and like going, how can we turn this into a sustainable circular economy? they're going to get funding from the environmental fund that's in Biden's Inflation Reduction Act, as long as we make sure that Republicans, don't torpedo that in these debt ceiling negotiations that are happening right now. So the other thing that is really exciting about this recycling is that it's going to happen, or it is happening with the EV batteries. And, we have talked about this before, and our listeners bring up, what about the lithium? What about the lithium? So just know, listeners, that there are so many people who are aware, of the problems and who don't want renewable energy to sort of repeat the trespasses and basically the sins of fossil fuels and be polluting industries themselves. The whole idea is we have this low carbon energy that won't be as polluting. We're not going to have oil spills. We're not going to have, Chernobyl and Fukushima happening. And one of the things I'm excited about is one of the co-founders of Tesla, J.B. Struble, I hope I'm pronouncing, or Straubel, his name correctly. He was a former chief technology officer at Tesla. He has got this plant outside of Reno, and what they are going to do is, get the lithium and the nickel out of EV batteries. And, yes, it's, going to only constitute, 30% of the lithium in, battery production, initially, but that is going to grow. So we are going, there is this whole movement to make this, circular business model with renewable energy. And I want our listeners to know that and to love solar panels and wind turbines like I do.
Yeah, no, of course. Here it is. Redwood Materials scores a new $2 billion loan to build a battery recycling facility in Nevada. It's just that you're speaking of.
Yeah. And this is where we have to be going. It's enough of sort of dragging our feet. We have to, and the fact is it's really just sort of politically that we are, because industry and industry leaders see this. I mean, even General Electric is going, okay, how can we recycle our wind turbine blades? And they are building recycling plants near where the wind turbines are, because obviously logistically trying to transport an enormous wind turbine to a facility that isn't close by, I mean, can you imagine with 170 foot or 320 foot long blade? That would be nuts. So we are getting cleverer at all this stuff.
Well, I'm just seeing in the chat here, Randy says San Jose is running a series of webinars on electrification. I mean, there is a desire to, I think, embrace this. And as you say, it is being done. It's being fought, obviously, in certain circles, but there also is an evolution of the way we look at this, and we see the ease with which we can do it. I also think if you just look at the different ways that you can store energy, of solar energy, wind energy, so that, when there's a change in the weather, when you lose the sun, when you lose the wind for a time, there, we have these technologies too, and we're employing these technologies already. I guess I'm asking you, aren't we, in California? I think California is a great example of what can be done on the road to self-sufficiency when it comes to alternative energy. I understand we're not there yet.
Yeah. Well, no, we're not there, but we definitely are on the path. And the thing, that I was saying at the beginning is we just have to, speed up this transition. And so it really is about, voters voting for politicians who are embracing renewable energy and who see, where we're headed in the future. And the thing that's really wild is when you talk to consumers and Americans, at large, the predominance of Americans are very concerned about climate change and that we need to do the right things. And it's, a majority, it's, 67, probably in the 70% range by now. So it obviously, goes across political parties. It's Republicans and Democrats alike. They want us to do stuff about it. They just, by us to do stuff about it, I mean, they want their politicians to do the right thing about it. And the LA Times just did a survey, and they were asking people, how do you feel about solar panels? And people responded. They were really positive about them. They can't understand why they aren't on every rooftop. And the thing I'm always telling everybody about the rooftops, that's 11% of our electricity needs right there if we install them on existing rooftops in the world. But the other thing is we need to be putting them as shade devices over car parks and over, the water canals that bring, that crazy water canal that we have from Northern California to Southern California, all the evaporation that's happening as that's going through, warm temperature zones. I mean, if that's covered in solar panels, then you're going to be losing less water and you're, very precious water, and you're also going to be generating electricity. And as the world heats up, solar panels above us, over car parks, that would be, great shade and help us out. And we're going to need it. And this is the thing. It's go time. Yes. Yep. There they are. Thank you, Kim.
I have an electric car, and when you're in the hot California desert and you have to power it up, they have these, super stations or supercharger stations, and you plug your car in under what you're talking about, canopies.
Yeah.
I believe a few of them anyway are solar powered, but the point is it's so blisteringly hot there that, as you suggested, it serves to a dual purpose. It both provides shade and essentially can power the entire supercharger lot. So you see, and here's another a picture of what you're talking about. I mean, that shade will protect the evaporative process, or at least knock it down a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
At the same time that you pick up power.
Yeah, yeah. So it's really, about getting right-sized on the planet. And the thing that, people have to, every country has wind and has solar. There aren't going to be wars over wind and solar because it's a resource that everybody has. So unlike oil, which we go to war over. And I mean, look at in our lifetimes, the crazy wars that have been fought over it. This just isn't going to happen with wind and solar. We're going to be getting more right-sized, I believe, as a species on our planet as we embrace renewable energies fully. And right now we're in that sort of difficult period of change. We've powered our world with one, predominant source of energy. And now we're moving to this other source that will become the predominant energy. And we're really having growing pains. And the thing is, because of how hot we already are, I'm just encouraging people, push your elected officials, vote for the ones who get how important this is, because this is the energy we need to move in. And yes, geothermal, I just saw that in the chat. Yeah, geothermal is great. Existing hydro is great. We don't want to build new hydro plants, but we want to use the ones that we've got, because obviously hydro plants have a big effect on ecosystems and all the animals, the species that are in there, they're breeding, all that stuff, all the silt that builds up behind dams. So no new dams, but the dams that we already have. And
I want to get back to fighting wars over water.
Oh, of course you do.
Or political systems, whatever we fight wars over, we've always got a reason, but at least get energy off the table as a reason to fight a war. Yeah, I like that. I'll sign on to that. Belinda, if you want to contact Belinda, you can do it across social media. She's at Belinda Waymouth, Waymouth. You can see it on the screen now, at Belinda Waymouth, Waymouth. So next week, if we can get to her a little bit earlier, I'd love for you to favor us. We'll do the planetary stuff first, and then I'd love for you to favor us with a story or two about the world of show business, which you were part of in a prominent way for a while, and then you got all these advanced degrees and you became this eco-journalist. But I love that there's curiosity about it, and so maybe we'll get into it a little bit next week. What do you think?
Okay, yeah, we could do that. Yeah, Kim and I have already we've touched on it a little bit before.
Oh, have you? I see. Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
When,
we could. I'll think up a snippet or two. I could.
All right. Thank you, Belinda.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
More.
Is the planet stupid?
No. It's the planet stupid. Next time, only on the Mark Thompson Show.
Yeah, I'm way into it. Way into it. Kim, is there anything else I need to do? Tony, I think you also maybe can.
There's some thank yous.
Super. Yeah, I thought we saw some people who contributed today. Also, if somebody will click off Belinda's banner, I would appreciate it. I don't know how to do it and look at the rest of the stuff, so thank you. Kelly, what up, Kelly? Thank you for the tip.
Big shout out.
Yeah, big shout out. Candace for a quick $10 super sticker. Thank you, Candace. A couple big shout outs from Dan Ashley. Lori, $20.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and yay. Get to listen live today, Lori says. Took a day off because it's my birthday. Wow.
Happy birthday, Lori B.
Love that. Here's the $20 that came in Grandma's car.
Thank you so much.
Lori, you've prompted me also. Wes, thank you also for the $5.
Thank you so much.
You know, the lady who does all of our graphics.
Yeah.
It was her birthday on Monday, and I want to wish her a super happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. Yeah, and I can't remember. She doesn't want us to say her name. I forget what the deal is. She's got this thing about not saying my name. Just recognize me as the graphics lady from the North Bay.
We'll call her D.
Yeah, we'll just say D. But I do, in the spirit, I do want you to, on your birthday on Monday, and now Lori, on your birthday today.
Receive the rod of equity and mercy.
Receive the rod of equity and mercy to both of you. I think that's a great thing to have and to go.
Receive the royal scepter.
Yeah. Receive the royal scepter. Viv, thank you, Viv, for the $10. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Viv. I appreciate that. There's a certain refined quality to you. For JG and B-Dub, thanks for your time as always. Yeah.
That's nice.
That is very nice. And Spencer is such a regular supporter.
Thank you so
much, all of you. And Kelly, thank you for the $5. Yes, indeed. Most magnificent Kelly, thank you so much. In fact, to all of you today, I might add.
Receive the rod of equity and mercy.
I'd like you all to receive the rod of equity and mercy.
Even me? Not so much.
You're borderline still. I think you're borderline. I mean, I don't know.
Okay.
You have. I mean,
but you just issued it as a blanket to everyone.
Well, here's the problem.
That's fine.
I think as someone who works on the show, you should know the names of the things that are on the show. And until we get that straight. Now, what is tomorrow? It's Friday. What are we doing tomorrow, Kim?
Friday Fabulous Florida.
Whoa! Wait a minute! That's unbelievable! Well, maybe you're back in the hunt. I'll talk to the tribal elders and see. Maybe there is room for you before the end of the week for you to get the rod of equity and mercy. Yeah. Tom, thank you for the super sticker. Shout out.
Big shout out.
Big shout out to Tom. We've done a lot today, a whole lot. If you've missed any of it, I encourage you to go back and check it all out. Give us a thumbs up along the way.
Smash it with your iron rod.
Thanks to Tony. Thanks to Kim. Thanks to all of you. Until tomorrow.
I'm Stevens for the Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
Nikki is going down now on the Big Nikki Maduro channel. Until tomorrow. Bye-bye.